This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hey, this is Jeff Russo. I'm the composer from Star Trek Discovery, and you're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome, listeners, to Postcards from the Edge. I'm your host, Amy Nelson, and with me this week is Tim Robertson. Tim, thank you for coming back to Postcards.
Hey, Amy, it's always a pleasure to be on Postcards with you. And wait, don't I have to call you Mother now? Is that the new rule?
Yes, I'm thinking that is. That was so amazing. So much to talk about.
Okay, Mother.
Laurel still is my favorite.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Quite the twists and turns, yeah?
It was an exhaustive episode.
Well, today we are going to discuss the fan response to Season 2, Episode 3, Point of Light. Now, if you would like to participate and share your response, please post your comments on the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Type Babel, B-A-B-E-L, into the search field, and it will come right up. Now, at the time of this recording, we have 334 comments posted.
Oh my God. I'm not surprised.
Oh my gosh. I thought last week there was so much, but we have a 30% increase from last week's episode when we had 257.
I know when you initially asked me to do this before even Discovery started, I thought episode 3 is probably when the Klingons are going to show up. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to be fun. We're going to get all sorts of interesting comments. And I was right. And 334 ads, and they're still coming in too.
Oh, they are. That's like I said, as of this recording, I had to, put a time limit somewhere to check. So
if you comment and it doesn't get talked about, you might have been late, or there's 334 comments to talk about. We can't pick all of them.
Yeah.
We'd be here forever.
Yeah. We'd be talking till next week.
Yes. That's funny.
All right. Well, Tim, tell me your initial thoughts, like after your very first viewing, and then how many times have you watched it since?
I needed to take a nap after the first viewing. It was exhaustive. I mean, most Star Trek has a plot and a subplot. Well, this basically, I saw it as 3 subplots. It was nice because it kind of tied up loose ends and answered a lot of questions that we've had from last season and into this season, like little spore dropping on Tilly and things like that. But there was a lot to digest. It was really, really crazy. I watched it Thursday night, and then I watched it again yesterday, and I actually watched it again this morning. And I'm still digesting it all. I don't know where it ranks. I'm not one to rank episodes, but I don't know where it ranks. It just, because there was just so much information and so many plot points, and exhausting.
Yeah, this actually, we were texting while we were watching because, we're on the same time zone. And so it was so fun. It was like, what?
I think I was
I'm not there yet.
I was a little bit ahead of you. So I was like, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, hope I didn't spoil anything.
Right.
But we knew Michelle Yeoh was coming back as Giorgio. So it's all good. But yeah, so I watched it and I literally said out loud to myself, because I was watching by myself, I need to see that again. And I watched it immediately thereafter. And I've never done that with a Discovery episode.
I would have done it if my wife wasn't here, but she was done with it after the first one. She's like, no, you can watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, when I'm not around. Once is enough for Bev. Yeah, so I found that very interesting. It was, just cram-packed of information and stuff to digest. So let's get to it. Let's see what the fans had to say. And Rob Vaughn from Twitter, and I apologize I didn't read your comment last week when you posted and reached out. But Rob says, the mysterious story continues. Anson Mount and Mary the Chief, both outstanding this week. So completely agree. They both were good. Although Captain Pike was a little less utilized this one, but that's okay.
Well, they had 3 storylines they were trying to address.
Right.
And he wasn't really a part of all 3. So
right. Yeah.
Well, Bill Sweet, he said, this is from Twitter or is this from Facebook?
The rest is from Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
This will probably be controversial, but I'm probably in the minority. But I liked this episode more than last week's, which was tricky, but felt to be more episodic Trek that I've seen before. Tonight was more like Discovery I love, making deep cuts referring to TOS and even novels, but throwing a curveball at us, challenging us to rethink Trek tropes that were very little long in the tooth. Yeah. There was a lot of TOS in there. I mean, you have Amanda come back and still the talk of Spock that we haven't seen yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have not. Bill, I don't know if it's controversial, but so many people liked last week. So it's interesting to get your take that you liked it more and that you are liking this new storytelling that Discovery is presenting to us, because many fans have talked about, I want it to be episodic, and myself included. But that's not what Discovery is. And so this episode definitely gets back to what Discovery was for sure last season.
Yeah, this helped answer some of the questions from last season, like I was saying. So it didn't keep cuts into novels, yes, but I enjoyed this episode. I don't know where it is, but I really enjoyed the week before, like everybody else.
Andrea Boot says, I don't know why, but I really like the sub-theme of motherhood this week. I was not expecting Laurel to have a child with Vogue. That felt like it was very out of the blue from the writers, and I'm not sure where it came from. Also, Laurel being referred to as the mother of the Klingon Empire and not the Chancellor gives a certain sense of absolute authority. I ask people to think of their own mothers at this point, that the word Chancellor can't always bring across. Amanda continues to show us just how much of a badass mother she is and how much she cares about her children, both biological and adopted.
That's true. Amanda's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, Andrea, great pickup on the theme of motherhood. And in my second watch, I was like, oh, yeah, there was so much foreshadowing with how Laurel was speaking and sort of referencing that she is this mother of the Klingon Empire. So that was really good.
That's right. Yeah. Josh Truex. Point of Light reminds me a lot of last year's Fantastic Beasts movie. I love that movie. It was really good. The Crimes of Griswold. It was obviously meant to advance the overarching plot of the season as a whole, rather than tell its own story. It epitomizes the serialized nature of this series. Exactly right. This is a serial. This is not standalone episodes. I mean, it's a Game of Thrones. You got to watch it from start to end to know where the bloodbaths occur and and who's on whose side sometimes.
Yeah. Henry Galarza says, really good episode. At first, I thought there were maybe one too many storylines going on with all the editing, but I think it all paid off okay at the end. Looks like we probably won't see Spock until maybe the end of episode 4 or in 5. Yeah, Spock's not coming anytime soon. It doesn't seem.
No,
like.
I'm not expecting him anytime. And when he shows up, it's going to be quite the impact, I think, on everybody.
Yeah.
You have 330 messages on this one. Wait till Spock shows up.
Yeah.
Maribel Myers. Wow, I think I have whiplash. I liked it, but I also wish they'd milk the different elements for more. Dumping 3 episodes into one episode is difficult. Yeah. There was enough story to have this stretched out into 2 episodes. With each new bit each week, I felt I've sat down and was served a scrumptious meal. This was good, but felt more like Applebee's versus the filet mignon we got earlier. Still like what they're serving, though. It was a bunch of appetizers that were really good. There wasn't a full course meal in this. But,
yeah, I made the comment. I'm like, I still felt like it was a filet mignon, but I was asked to eat it in 5 minutes. Like, wait, let me savor it.
It was an interesting episode. It's hard to call it an episode because there was so many things going on. It could have been 3 Star Trek shorts. It really easily could have been.
Yeah. Ben Nicholson says, I've just finished the episode and I have to admit I found it difficult in places to watch, but it was well put together episode and a good episode, even though I may not watch it too many times after this week. I couldn't watch Tilly going mad on the bridge scene fully, and the scene with the heads was definitely not PG. But the episode was really good in places and was a good builder episode for the season. The Amanda and Michael interactions were good, and I especially liked the Amanda-Michael Pike scene. The Klingon political and fist fighting was brilliant. I can see this episode help bring the season to an amazing crescendo. Yeah, I think you're right, Ben. We're starting to build and, try and get to that arc, that high point, that crescendo, as you say.
And the skulls were pretty dramatic too. I mean, it's not, you don't want to see a baby skull. You just
no,
hang on or not. You just don't. And it was very emotional, very not PG to see that on Star Trek. Really, it's not the Star Trek I'm used to. But hey, I liked it. Yeah. Rhea Papagiorgio. I know Reunion is a TNG episode. TNG, what is that? Never mind.
It's only the best. Don't send me hate mail, listeners.
This was a disco reunion. I really enjoyed this episode and can't wait to watch it a few more times. So much going on. The more I see Amanda, the more she reminds me of Jane Wyatt and TOS. I agree with that. She's, very good. Really like the casting. The casting on this whole show has been good. Yeah. I was so happy to see the return of our Klingon friends. Really like their post-war look, especially Tyler. The dynamics of Laurel as Chancellor were great. I wouldn't trust the storyline if she had been accepted without a fight. And a baby with Buck, an albino, no less. The albino, one can only hope. I knew someone was going to swoop in at the last minute and save Laurel and Vogue, but not expecting it to be our distant relative, Giorgio. I had a feeling last week that Tilly's little friend was up to no good. Now we know what the green spore was. Will be interesting to see what happens with that. I had so much fun with this episode. It really seemed to open up the disco area universe. Can't wait to rewatch it. See where the rest of the season goes. Pretty sure Spock didn't kill his doctors. Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Spock's not a killer.
No,
that's not. It does. You're going to get a lot of responses to. Yeah, but the Tilly thing. I mean, like I said, it tied up little points that we had seen from last season and earlier this season. I love it.
Yeah, and to think, and I'm not good with the timeline and all, but the listeners will know. So, like from the end of season 1 till now, how much time has passed in Discovery, and how long has Tilly been living with that? And did it grow so that it got the power to show herself as May Ahern, or, there's still just those finer details. But yeah, now we know exactly what that green spore was and how it has been affecting Tilly.
Yeah, and May, I didn't know what to I mean, she pushed Tilly, too. So, I mean, I don't know how Tilly won the race. Either she stopped and talked to her for 10 minutes while she was running a half marathon. So that's a whole nother plot line we could talk about later.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that was mentioned in the thread. And I'm like, sure she ran fast, period. Why is it?
Yeah.
Chris Chaplin says, as a former literature teacher, I appreciate the Shakespearean Klingon political machinations, but that's never been my favorite part of Trek. I enjoyed the Tilly story and the Michael Amanda Spock story. When they converge in Michael and Tilly's quarters and Michael goes to Warp 7 problem-solving mode, I found myself as excited and smiling as Michael. And she needs to smile more. She's at her best and most emotionally healthy when around Tilly. It's a fine episode, but not as singular and rewatchable as New Eden.
Yeah, I do like the Tilly-Michael relationship. I really do. Where's Michael? It's a yes and me. She needs her they both need each other. They really do. They bring out the human of both of them.
Yes, they do.
Brian
Meloche,
thank you. You've been reading these names a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
That might have been the best Klingon episode ever. And that was only one plot. Wow, just wow. I must watch it again to see if anything if it changes anything. And again, 20 more times. By the way, if I did, that wouldn't be a record. My current record for Discovery is what's passed as prologue, 26 times.
26 times,
26
Brian.
times.
Wow.
That's good. I mean, how many times did you see Lorca get killed? Let's count that up.
Oh, I'm like, I don't know. Well, I know I haven't counted anything, and probably 26 times. I could probably say that about a TNG episode.
Yeah.
Maybe cause and effect or parallels, because I love watching those. But
yeah, Obermite Maneuver I've probably seen at least 26 times,
But that's over 50 years,
Yeah, I've seen it that many times just on reruns. That's true. That's true. That's quite the record for a show that aired last season. Good job, Brian.
Rebecca Skipper writes, while not my favorite episode, Point of Light is very powerful. The common theme is wanting to belong and what must be sacrificed to preserve peace. By TOS, we know that L'Rell isn't in power, so what happens? This episode reminds me of Enterprise and the length Section 31 would go to keep the Klingons in check. Anyone else think of Wolf in the Fold when we learned what is harming Tilly? The mysterious surrounding Spock is interesting, even if I didn't want Spock to be in Discovery. This episode didn't impact me emotionally, but the intrigue and mystery has me hooked. Emperor Georgiou and Section 31 are pulling all the strings, and this is the darker side of the Federation. I don't like Section 31, but apparently Federation values alone cannot keep peace. This is hard to say given that the Federation is what I believe in. Well, thank you, Rebecca, for your comments. You've got a lot going on there. And it sort of goes to, can we keep peace or do we need to have Section 31? I think it's a great theme that we're going to see in season 2. Yeah,
it's Section 31. I've never given it much thought. It's always been a little thing they've talked about elsewhere and Enterprise and things like that. And it'll be interesting to see what they do because we've already heard that they're going to have a Section 31 series. So that's going to be a thing. And the nice thing is it's TV and no one really has to watch it if they don't want Section 31.
So you're my TOS expert. Mm-hmm. Did you think of Wolf in the Fold?
No, I didn't. No, I don't know why. Maybe I have to rewatch Wolf in the Fold in the episode 26 more times to see a link there, but I did not know. Rick Trillish, this season is really hitting it out of the park. This was another episode that kept me away from my second screen, except for at commercial breaks. Imagine he means his phone, right?
Yes.
This episode provided so many bridges and storylines to set up the rest of the season. A mirror spore intruder. No wonder it hates the blonde captain that almost destroyed its habitat. Our new Klingon mother and the Klingon battlecruiser of my youth. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that later. Amanda's search for Spock, the Red Angel, and Section 31. To be honest, I was afraid that the introduction of Mirror Giorgio would do to our disco this season. But her come to Jesus talk with L'Rell was exactly what she needed to be done, and then she kicked ass. I can't wait for next week. I love just the way she appeared and took care of business with that Section 31 phaser. That's a nasty phaser.
Yeah. So did her hood sort of because when she took her hood down, her face sort of changed. Was it sort of a hologram?
Yeah, I think it was a hologram type mask, so they couldn't tell who she was.
Okay, that was cool. And seeing the Klingon battle cruiser.
D7. Woo! I've got it painted on my motorcycle. I love that. I love that ship.
Yep. Rick, great point.
Yep.
David Taylor says, clearly laying the groundwork for something with the baby. Felt like, why bother? Right now, assume there's a payoff down the road. Definitely feels like a Section 31 spinoff is on the way. I've mixed emotions about this. It's a fine line between, more Star Trek, or yay, more Star Trek, and once to the well too often. Overexposure of Star Wars is a mistake they need to use as an example. I think they're doing a good job of coloring in details that overlay the stories we all know. I've never been a big fan of the Klingons in any of the shows, but I do have to say I've developed more of a respect for the race due to this show. I'm thinking the baby may be part of the story with him as an adult that would take place after TOS but before TNG. I thought it was odd that Mother pitched one head into the abyss and slide the baby's head into the drawer. Anyone else catch that?
Yeah, we noticed that. It was she wanted to eliminate the traitor,
right?
Bulk, Ash, but she wasn't going to take that away from her baby.
It was a sacrifice that she's still mourning, so it's like she still kept it, but then threw the traitor's head away. Yeah, I thought it was very poignant there.
I don't know if we're going to see the baby any other time this season. I mean, I really don't see the logic in going there. Do you?
Yeah, I agree with you. It would be just, there it is, placed, and let it slide for a couple seasons.
Playing with his Legos on, the monk planet.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony Salazar. The whole thing with Spock at the hospital seems kind of weird. He voluntarily checks himself in, goes nuts, allegedly kills 3 people, and is the subject of a manhunt. But when his mother goes to the hospital looking for him and no one tells her any of this, something else is going on. Yes, and the people that are taking care of this, I bet you they have a black badge on their uniform. I'm just saying, throwing it out there.
Yeah, and when Pike was talking to whoever, the admiral, whatever, and all of his points made sense. It's like, I'm his commanding officer, I should know. Like, I am in charge of finding my damn red things. Like, he should know. Like, he should be looped in, and he's not. So
their mission is to investigate the red spots in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Spock's a major part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just love when you looked at Michael and slid over the memory disk to her and said, it's an order. Encrypt it, read it. That's our captain.
Caspolita Thompson says 3 episodes in 1 and a change in tone from the episodic Trek of last week. This is certainly one for a rewatch. Very fast paced, like some other Discovery episodes, which sometimes I felt difficult to keep up with. Each of these 3 stories would have been an episode in the old days. I don't mind them running the 3 narratives alongside each other, just would have liked a little more time for each. There were a few moments that felt rushed for me. For example, Amanda walking out on Michael, Stamets extracting the mushroom from Tilly, Michael and Tilly's conversation. But lots to like as well. It looked great, apart from the couple of dizzying camera angles. The baby was a surprise in a good way. The Klingons were as operatic as they should be, and it was great to see more of the training program. Good stuff. Just slow down a bit, please.
I agree. It was to me, it was way too fast paced. I mean, there was just so much going on. We love the Michael Tilly moments. We love the Amanda Michael moments. I mean, it's and the whole Klingon thing. I enjoyed the camera. I didn't enjoy the camera angle during the fight. I did not enjoy that. Just the way they filmed it behind the post and everything as it was moving back and forth. I don't know. That I didn't enjoy that. That was probably my least favorite part of the entire
I can see that.
episode.
Yeah, because it didn't feel cohesive.
Yeah. They really didn't. Ray Leopard, this episode had so much going on that it made my head spin. I had to watch it twice to absorb it all. People that said season 2 is a reboot have been proven wrong. Last season's events are still playing out. This episode is definitely not a standalone. We cannot really judge it until we see how it fits in the rest of season 2. All I can say now is this episode entertained me, and I'm hungry for more. So true, Ray. So true. It's like I said, it's jumping back to previous season, also tying things together from this year.
Yeah. And I definitely was entertained. So
yeah. It was, I don't think I sat back in my chair watching this episode. I think I was sitting forward the entire time going, what are they doing next? Oh my God, more Klingons.
That's why I kept texting you. What? What?
You tested me, Giorgio. That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Amy.
So we're going to say Nell. Because, okay. So, Cahal Fitzgerald. She told me last week how to say her name, and she's like, the T is silent. So I'm like, how do you make a silent T? Cahal? Is that how you would say it?
If the T is silent, yeah. Take the T out. Yeah. Cahal.
Cal?
Cahal?
Anyways.
Kal-El? No, that's Superman.
Kal-El? All right. So Nell Fitzgerald says, hey, Amy, would it help if you didn't have to pronounce my name? Yes, it would.
We just spent 20
And I
seconds
post
on
a
it.
comment on behalf of my daughter, Nell. Nell said the scenes with the baby Klingon were terrifyingly good. The action in the fight seemed thrilling, and the extraction of the being from Tilly, incredible. The idea of a physical possession fungi was new. It's just top sci-fi. Bring on episode 4. Yes, thank you, Cahal. And it terrifyingly good. Yes, that's a very good description.
Yeah, all Stamets says, this might hurt.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no prep work. It's
I
like,
know.
this
I'm like,
might
don't
hurt.
you need approval before you suck an alien out of another crew member? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. Interesting.
it is.
William J. Jackson, Point of Light rocked. It's hard to tie up loose ends, tell new stories, and get points across all in one episode. This one did fine. And I guess is a must considering we only get 13 to 14 episodes for season 2. What got me the most? Call Shaw. What a dishonorable chap. That's not what he said, but okay. The way he faded into the rear when the fight started, kidnapped a baby, and used a paralysis weapon. Glad he's gone. Question, is Laurel Ash's baby the albino from DS9?
So, yes. Cole Shaw, what a dishonorable chap. Good job, William. Yeah, he was sneaky and conniving, and the face paint listening device.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And being the albino from DS9, well, I guess we got to wait till DS9 comes out to answer that. I don't know.
Well, people have been saying yes, and then people have been saying no. And I don't think Klingons live 200 plus years.
No. And there's more than one albino. I mean, vocals.
Oh, yeah.
So it's be more than one.
So this part of the episode, I've been calling bits and pieces, just some random thoughts that came up in the thread. So Tim, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Justin Ozer, our good friend. Here's something that may sound wild, but it registered to me in 2 separate episodes, and I have to mention it. In Brother, Pike seems to be unfamiliar with the DNA scan requirement when he comes aboard, and Saru has to explain it to him. It's because of the war. In Point of Light, the May, or spore organism that, actually the quote marks when I said that, I'm sorry, can't see that, says that Pike is an imposter. Now, in the first instance, the Enterprise has been away during the war, and that may explain Pike's unfamiliarity with the scan requirement. In the second instance, the May spore organism seems confused that Stamets is the captain because he operates the spore drive. Another possibility is that Pike is not who he says he is. I think that's an unlikely possibility, and I hope it's not the case, but I feel those bits are in there for some reason. I don't know, my opinion, every time May showed up, she said the captain was shorter, blonde, and really white. And that's Stamets. And that's not Pike. And no, I think she didn't recognize him as the captain because she's from the spore. And who controlled the spore, who flew through the spore drive? That was Stamets.
Yeah. You know, Justin, I read your comment multiple times, and I, with you, hope it's not the case that Pike is an imposter. I hope he is who he says he is, and that we don't end up with another Lorca situation, because I'm liking Pike a lot, and I just
How
need
much,
him
Amy?
to be true. So much.
I heard you're writing Anson Mount fanfic.
I really should. If I could write. But yeah. Oh, and
why are you sweating right now?
Is it getting warm in here? So, Tim, you sent me a link to Anson Mount's podcast.
Right.
He is a fellow podcaster.
Yes,
Come on. I cannot love him anymore. Please stop.
Yeah. And it's an interesting podcast, too, because he brings people from Hollywood on and they talk about not their career in Hollywood, but what their interests are outside, things they never get interviewed about. So it's a pretty interesting podcast.
It is. I just finished one, and it gets to the deeper, like, why are you doing things, motivations, big themes of life.
Yeah, it's called The Well.
Yes, and it's deep. Yes.
It's deep, yeah. Very good.
Tony Salazar says, I wasn't prepared for the epicness of Ash Tyler's beard. Sorry, Riker, but your trophy for best Trek beard has been stolen.
Hear, hear.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was a little too unkept and
could have done without the man bun.
Yeah,
I expect him to have a merce too, so I don't.
That man bun felt it's too socially relevant right now. It seems like it might get dated, hopefully, when the man buns go away.
Hopefully they do. Yes. Feel sweet. By the way, I love the scene where Amanda gave Space Dad the smackdown about Burnham being persistent. That was funny.
Yep. And Amanda's like, she learned that from me. I'm like, yes.
There's so many good actors who are capturing the roles of the people we know and love. From TOS and other Trek. They've done very well with casting on the show. Very well.
Stephen DeFroy says Kenneth Mitchell as Colshaw, the father of Cole, nails it again. Did he die? Hope not. Dennis Bellinger says Mitchell seems to have inherited the Klingon version of the red shirt curse. Still plenty of people in the house of core he could play, I'm sure. So yes, that was our loved Kenneth Mitchell who played Colshaw. So that was good to see him. I liked him actually a little bit better than in season 1. So
yeah, I
felt like I could see him more. Of course, maybe because I've seen him so much on social media and STLV and stuff. But yeah, I like
his new tagline is "Every day is a good day to die."
Yeah.
Clara Jean Cook. 2 thoughts I had: Amanda can really rock the hooded cape, and why would you want flashing lights when you're running a half marathon? Yeah. Really? Is it an obstacle course too?
I know. I did not get it. Like, they have to announce. I get that, you make the announcement to clear so that they can run. And a half marathon, that's 13 miles on a ship.
Through aisles.
Round and round and round. And oh my gosh.
Yeah. I did like the shirts.
Yes.
I think we were texting during it, and I said, I really like the shirt. And you said someone already owns one. So I
ordered one, yeah.
Yes, I went online and ordered one as the show was on. So
nice.
I like the shirt, yeah. And the hooded cape on Amanda,
Yep.
Yeah, and the way she just pulls it back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was good. She's like, okay, I'm getting serious now. Yeah.
Mama's talking.
Del Nakamura says, absolute best moment was Laurel's deadpan. I'll take your advice into consideration after Giorgio gives her worst mother ever child rearing tips.
Right. And just the way Giorgio would look at the infant too was kind of like when Tyler was holding the baby. She gave a little look like she was peeking and smiling, and then when Tyler looked at her, she had that real serious look on her face. It's an interesting side of Giorgio. I don't know. So
was it revealed that Giorgio has a child?
It sounds, well, she said,
right?
She says she has someone come in and care for her child. So, and is that the Giorgio from Mirror Universe? So the baby's her child is still over there?
I would think so, because it's Mirror Giorgio.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't always read all the positive. We do get into some questions and concerns. And Brandon Cole says, I don't know what to say. I wasn't that impressed with it. All right, Brandon. I hear you.
Yeah, there was. I mean, if you didn't keep up with everything from the past, and you wanted a slower episode, which a lot of Star Trek is a little bit slower, this wasn't it. This was through a fire hose at your face. Here's 47 minutes of Star Trek. So yeah, I can understand people that say they weren't impressed with it because it wasn't like any of the other episodes. Dan McWilliams, another comment. The camera work on this one is silly and makes me dizzy. Stop starting out upside down and spinning. That's something they do in the movies too, though. They'll show one perspective from the top and they'll rotate it around and go in. But yeah, the camera work on this one, like I said, in the fight scene and the Klingons, I really didn't enjoy. So
yeah, and I made a comment because I'm like, well, because it annoys me as well, just beyond. And they come in and then the ship with the Section 31 ship, it comes in and then all of a sudden it comes in upside down and then we have to flip around to get, that annoyed me. And I was like, well, maybe they're doing that because they're showing, they're out in space. And so we don't really have an orientation except for our artificial gravity. And I was like, oh, okay, that's making sense in my head canon. And then one of the listeners was like, yeah, but they did it on the Klingon homeworld. And so they're not out in space, they're on a planet. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they do it.
Yeah, I want to jump over to the Section 31 ship real quick. I don't know if there's a comment on that about this. But when they first showed it, was it uncloaking?
No, it was just upside down.
Okay. On my TV, it looked like it had been cloaked.
Oh.
So I don't man, that's one thing I got to look at again. I don't know. It's the graphics looked kind of strange when it first came on screen, so I don't know if it was okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Demir, okay, help me here.
We say Demir D.
Okay, I like that. Demir D.
Yeah.
Hi, Demir. How are you? So L'Rell and Voke's son will grow up to be the albino, right? Yeah. That would be a great tie-in to Kol Shah, the white-haired Klingon we saw. Could be an ancestor of Koloth, who we know tried to hunt down the albino along with Kor and Kang. Neither Kol Shah's house or Kor's are fans of L'Rell. Great, I get all the Klingon names in this one, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. So their descendants could be after the albino after that point of family revenge. It would give some interesting background to their stories on DS9. In particular, are they really the bad guys and the albino is the good guy? Or is their parents' fight so long ago it doesn't matter anymore?
Yes. And after watching DS9, I remember what you're talking about. So when you mentioned Kor and Kang. And so, yeah, it might be tying into that storyline. And I think you're right, Demir, that it's so long ago, it doesn't matter. Just that revenge and that hatred of family that Klingons seem to hang on to.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason for the baby other than L'Rell and Voke hooking up. But yeah, for the future, the logic points to it's a relative or is the DS9 albino, but time will tell, maybe, if the writers go there.
Reese Morgan, oh, Discovery. Face paint listening devices, cringe-inducing dialogue, a tedious Klingon political story, trapping people in bubbles. Oh my. Discovery needs to learn the show, don't tell aspect of storytelling. Everything that's going on between L'Rell and Voke, as well as Michael and Amanda, have to be completely described to us for fear of us not understanding. Way too much of runtime is dedicated to this. The rock music notes before the white-haired Klingon walked out on to face L'Rell and Voke in slow motion made me laugh out loud. I have been a film student, and this outing is truly amateur. Need I mention the floating snot? Well, Reese, I got that guitar music, and yeah, that made me laugh. And I'm like, nope, that did not work for me.
The floating bubble, I laughed because it reminded me of Galaxy Quest. When the characters would transport, they'd put them in a bubble. So that's what it reminded me of, too. I kind of giggled at that part. And then he gets stabbed. So she did not like it. Joshua DeVries. I realize it is probably naive to think that all episodes of this season would be bright and optimistic. For every Cupid, there's going to be a chain of command. But still, this episode, Darkness, didn't feel like it came logically out of the plot. It felt soap opera-esque. The secret baby? Spock possibly a murderer? The episode felt like a series of shocking twists rather than a plot. Now, there have been many threads that will no doubt be explored later. So I reserve judgment. I've been a fan of the show from the beginning, but I don't want it to devolve into merely a collection of more shocking than last revelations. There's a lot going on. There's a ton of stuff to digest in this. That's why, like you, watched it immediately after. And I think the consensus of everybody on here is you need to watch it more than once because there's everything going on. But yeah, there were a lot of little surprises, the baby and Spock a murderer and things like that. But
yeah, there were a lot of twists. And I can see your point, Joshua, that it's like, yeah, are we going to keep on having these twist after twist to try and outdo? Or can we just tell a story? So I'm hoping these twists are what the rest of it's going to be to get us to the good storytelling like we're used to.
And I'm ready for a funny episode.
Yeah.
I'm ready for some humor. More Tilly.
Yeah, this one was heavy.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon Shea Mutella.
I read this and I'm like, this is the Brandon Shea Mutella we know? Who wrote this?
Yeah.
Was he possessed by a spore?
Yes, he's got a mirror spore attached to him.
Yeah, I think we've got a mirror Brandon in this post. Go ahead, Amy.
This episode was all around terrible. I personally could not care less about the Klingon storyline. Tired tropes in every scene. The Tilly May stuff was just painful to watch. Pike's line about Burnham being bossy doesn't ring true to his character. Section 31 and their freaking laser beam weapons to the rescue. Whee! Also, I don't think David Mack is too thrilled that they referred to Control in the episode.
Laser beam weapons is not we, it's pew, pew, pew.
There you go.
But I don't, Brandon. I don't know, Amy. What do you think?
Okay. The Klingon storyline, that's awesome. I like it.
It's our opinion.
Yes, definitely. And well, what I saw on Twitter was David Mack was like, well, if you like the use of Control, then read my book. So I don't think David Mack
he was promoting his book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the May Tilly stuff, painful. It was uncomfortable to watch because we've seen Tilly, her light, bubbly personality. All of a sudden, she's got this negative person talking to her and trying to push her in a direction and tell her what to do. And she doesn't want to go crazy. She wants to be a captain someday. And she saw this as a roadblock to her future. And that's when she walked off the bridge and said, I quit. I was like, no, not Tilly.
That was powerful.
Yeah, but Brandon, we respect and humbly
we still love you.
We humbly disagree. And when Prime Universe Brandon shows up next week, we'll be very happy. Chris Foster. I was happy with the content of the episode and moving all story arcs forward. However, I was unsatisfied with the structure of the episode. There were so many stories to keep track of. It felt jarring sometimes, bouncing from story A to B to C and so on. This clearly was an episode to play catch up on our main character, and that's fine. But I felt let down in the writing in some instances. I'm ready for another episode like the last two. I can see that. I do agree. It was the story arcs were fast. It's like I said, it's like watching the Star Trek through a fire hose. I agree completely with you. And like I said, it would be nice to slow down and have a nice calm on a planet somewhere.
But someone mentioned before, it's like we only have 13 to 14, well, 14 now, but originally planned 13 episodes. But yes, great point. I agree. Joey Slawinski says, sorry, kids, but this one felt like a step backwards for me. I thought that the last two episodes were so great and felt so Trekky to me. This one just missed the mark. Everything from the blood and guts to Section 31 and the weird fungal removal scene just felt off to me. It wasn't bad television by any means, but it just didn't feel like a Trek episode to me.
Okay. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the best Star Trek episodes are 80% dialogue. They really are. And they take place on the ship, so it's like, and it was hard to watch because there was so much going on. You had to pay attention.
And there was a lot of blood and guts and the fight scene and the heads and it was definitely off. Well, let's get to some final thoughts. I had 2 comments that I posted for this, and I thought that they sort of went well together. And we'll start off with Nicholas Paul Collinson. Possibly the thing I love most about Discovery is the fact that it can blend the old and the new so well. There were so many references to older Trek that I love, but it never relies on them, so new fans are never left out. I have been watching Star Trek since I was maybe about 5, and I can watch this with my partner who's never watched Star Trek before and isn't even a big fan of sci-fi, and we both really enjoy it. Well, thank you, Nicholas, for your comment. And I think, in my opinion, as well as yours, that they are blending the old and the new. They are. I'm enjoying. I'm a Trekkie from way back. I first saw Star Trek 1966, being 9 years old. So, I love the, Sarek. I love Amanda that they're bringing in. I love the Klingons, even though they don't look like the original Klingons, but there's maybe a tie-in to why they look that way now. No, I really enjoy what they're doing, and it is sci-fi. It's sci-fi at its best. Matthew Pittard said, the thing I like about this show, it isn't afraid to have non-Starfleet scenes. Think about it. How many TV shows do you get where the one main character isn't present? In this show, we actually get exposition and story out of non-Starfleet characters. Think how many times that happened in TOS, TNG. It did happen in DS9 to a different extent. I think it's wonderful. True. It's like, and there's been a voice of people that want to see more of the bridge characters, and I don't know how I feel about that either, because you only got 47 minutes to tell the story, and a minor character on the bridge is not going to get 5 lines of dialogue. It's just not going to happen unless it's a central story to their character. So but I like what they're doing, bringing in non-Starfleet, like the Klingon scenes. Yeah. And like Amanda, like she's definitely playing an important role and will. Yeah. All right. Well, after reading all those comments and the other 300 in the Babel conference, Tim, how do you think the fans responded to this week's episode? I think they responded pretty much what I thought. Personally, it was a good episode, but there was a lot going on, and we felt a lot of that from the fans in their comments. The camera work was not what we've seen before. The acting was still great. The dialogues were great. Costumes were great. The music, some of the music was not, the best, but overall, I believe the fans saw the episode as a positive with a few negatives thrown in there. Yeah. It seemed like, positive with this underlying theme of a lot going on. And so not really a negative, not really a positive, but just a lot. And like I said, this fire hose of story and plot coming at you. I'm sure you'll pick up everything after your 26th time watching this episode, Amy. Exactly. Well, be sure to check out our Discovery coverage here on Trek FM. We have Live from the Edge, airs on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you can watch Bruce and Brandy and ask live questions, and it will be released as a podcast on Saturday mornings. Tim, I did that last night. Have you ever done the live? Never. It's a blast. Is it really? Was so much fun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying it was really fun. Lots of listeners, and they're talking, and Bruce and Brandy do great, and Chris Tribuzio was on, so give that a try. Okay. Yeah, we were at the theater last night, so. Yeah, that's right. I saw. Yeah. Hello, Dolly. Oh, yeah. Hello, Dolly. It was great. Right. Oh. Anyways, our commentary will be available from Tracks from the Edge with our wonderful Mike and Max. Of course, you can catch full analysis on the Edge main show with Patrick and myself. You can find all of these on the main feed for The Edge and in the Trek.fm master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where I will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM, or send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select the Edge. So, Tim, where can people find you on the interwebs? And why don't you tell them about this interesting and informative podcast that you host?
Well, thanks, Amy. You can find me on the internet. I have a podcast. It's called The Observer's Notebook. It's a podcast through the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. That's a group I've been a member of since the early 70s. And the podcast, we have about 65 episodes online right now, and it ranges anything from talking about the recent total lunar eclipse we had, any meteor showers or comets that might be in the night sky. If you have an amateur astronomer in your family or as a friend, please point him in my direction. The Observer's Notebook. That's the name of the podcast. And we have a lot of fun. You can also find me on the internet. I'm in the Babel Conference. Just look for Tim Robertson. And I'm also on the Twitter. My Twitter handle is Tim Robertson 56. Thanks, Amy. This is a lot of fun.
Well, you can find me here on the network, where I co-host the Edge Main Show with Patrick Devlin. I also co-host Earl Grey with Richard Marquez and Justin Ozer, which is about the next generation. You can also find me on the Fandom Podcast Network, co-hosting Discoville, where we discuss the Orville and Discovery with my good friends Haley Stoddard, Kyle Wagner, and Kevin Reitzel. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place is on the Babel Conference. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an associate producer, visit patreon.com/TrekFM for all the details. I would like to thank our associate producers, Norman Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Mallett, Chris Trebuzio, and Brian Maloche. Thank you for supporting Trek FM and especially The Edge. So join us next week for another episode of Postcards from the Edge. Hailing frequencies open.